Love is a very complex emotion. For me, love is a wonderful feeling that cannot be defined in words, a kind of love that is not for profit, without limits or conditions. When you love, it makes you brighter and happier. Today we will follow this love story. Sang-ji is only 13 years old. The first time she saw Jia-soo, she felt moved. That's her brother's best friend. So she studied hard to get into university in the city where Jia-soo lived with the hope of meeting him. Love is as vast as the ocean and sky, but with the age and generation gap, how will Sang-ji pursue his first love? Will they be able to get together? Sang-ji will give everyone the answer. Sang-ji is a small, lovely girl. During class, her mind keeps wandering, so she is often scolded by the teacher. Sang-ji even drew a satirical drawing of his teacher. That's why the teacher not only scolded but also invited the girl's parents. When it was time to leave, Jinru went to invite Sang-ji to go to the bookstore with him when Jingchu invited Sang-ji to refuse. Jingchu called, but Sang-ji still did not turn around, was planning to ask his brother for help to study far away, but Sang Yan immediately refused. Back home, she was about to confess. Her mother asked her to bring food to Sang Yan in the room. The two brothers then performed a cat and mouse play, making Jia-soo unable to help but laugh. Sang-ji went to Sang Yan and said he had something to ask, but he was still worried about it just now. Of the 36 ways, crying is the best way for children, so Sang-ji burst into tears to summon his mother to teach Sang Yan a lesson. With only two people left in the room, Sang-ji asked Jia-soo to get him a tissue. After that, Jia-soo said if she wanted to ask Sang Yan anything, just tell him and he would say it for her. Sang-ji said that Sang Yan would definitely refuse, then asked Jia-soo if he was free tomorrow. If he wasn't free, he had to be free. Seeing that this girl was very interesting, he had no choice but to stop eating and tell her to talk. Sang-ji wanted to ask him to pretend to be her biological brother so she could go to parent class tomorrow. Before knowing whether Jia-soo agreed, Sang Yan broke in and kicked them both out. Jia-soo rushed home, but Sang-ji did not give up and kept insisting to follow, but Jia-soo still kindly told him to ask Sang Yan. Seeing that, when she left, Jia-soo gently leaned into her ear and asked for the class and name, agreeing to come tomorrow. Time just flew by, and soon Sang-ji had entered high school and became a beautiful and charming girl. Sang Yan's older brother came home from school far away from Halo one beautiful day, but she didn't even care. Sang Yan borrowed his father's car so he could transport his and his friends' belongings to the university dormitory. While eating, Sang-ji woke up with eyes as bright as stars, because he knew that his brother's friend was definitely Jia-soo. Even though we haven't seen each other for many years, Jia-soo still immediately recognizes this as the shrewd girl from before. After some hesitation, he asked her to pawn the things and bring them to his room. When I got there, I saw my brother was always playing games, so I blamed him. My roommate named Qianfei also greeted Sang-ji. Another guy came over and wanted to say hello, but Sang Yan stopped him, reducing him to a few friends. Jia-soo called her little sister over to the other side to sit. She made a sullen face and said she was no longer a little girl. To celebrate finishing cleaning the room, we all decided to go out to eat together, and Jia-soo was busy with part-time work. Sang-ji conveniently teased his brother at home, saying that there were a lot of girls chasing after him. Before leaving, Jia-soo also delicately gave the stuffed fox to Sang-ji before leaving. He was happily given a gift and was so full that he didn't need to eat with everyone. At night, when Jia-soo went to work, Sang Yan told her that her sister had forgotten something, then called and told Jia-soo to talk. She said she forgot her homework at his place. If she brought it tomorrow, she wouldn't have time to submit it. Then he promised to go to school early tomorrow and solve the homework with her. Hearing that made Sang-ji very happy, returning to the time when he was a child on his parents' day. Because Sang-ji didn't dare tell anyone, no one came and the teacher called her to his office. Just like that, Sang-ji sulked and went crazy, then picked up his backpack and left. Accidentally falling on the way, Jia-soo came to help her. Back to reality, Sang-ji was standing next to the car at the rendezvous point, but she still hadn't seen him. Jia-soo came with a bottle of fresh milk and pressed it against her cheek. The two went to the breakfast restaurant. Jia-soo went toward her and Sang-ji couldn't take his eyes off his crack. Continuing the funny story from earlier, the two went to teacher Sang-ji's room. Here, Jingchu was still being punished by standing in a corner. Jia-soo used a great example and said her parents were on a business trip and hadn't returned yet, so the teacher immediately believed it. Therefore, being beautiful means having many privileges as a gentleman. The teacher said her achievements were very good, but she kept making mistakes and let herself be filled with regret. Jia-soo also came out cheap and blamed Sang-ji for reprimand. Then there was a flattering song to the teacher that made the teacher so satisfied that he let them both go home. Returning to reality, Sangji was so engrossed in watching Crack read a book that he forgot all about his homework. Before going to school, Jiasu also stuffed a piece of paper into her bag, saying that he had read her essay and had rewritten a new one. Sangji shyly went inside. His friend Jinru also came. Zheng Chu stopped the street and danced to entertain Sangji and invited her to his birthday. But Sangji's face remained cold as ice. She left. Jinru said he would try to invite Sangji there to have fun. Entering class, wondering what kind of milk he brought to Sangji could only smile. At night, she came home happily, took out the bottle of milk she had been given, then took out the essay Jiasu gave her and sat down to read it. The content of the essay was about the unstable moving session the day before. She excitedly made WeChat friends with Jiasu and then sent random messages. Her parents then came and said they were going away for a wedding this weekend, so they planned to call her brother home. But Sangji refused because she didn't want to play with her brother, but to keep her parents from worrying, she agreed. The day her parents left, her brother also came to the house to pick her up to eat. He looked all over the room but couldn't find anything. It was like playing hide and seek when he found his little sister not wanting to eat. But when he heard his brother say that his best friend was coming with him, he dressed up beautifully. Getting on the bus, he was disappointed when the friend he picked up was Chan Fei, but was happy again when Jiasu also came along. Jiasu saw that the girl couldn't cry, so he started a conversation and asked why he didn't ask this handsome guy. What a dangerous guy, because he knows he's beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, arriving at the shopping center, Sangji wanted to go to the parking lot with his brother, but his brother told him no. Then she got out of the car with a blank face. Seeing that her face was not good, Jiasu came to inquire and told Qian Fei to go to the restaurant first. While walking behind, he saw a stain on Sangji's dress, so Jiasu always walked behind to cover her. Once inside, he found out that this was her wedding day. He told her to go to the bathroom and wait, then went alone to her daughter's grocery store and called Sang Yan. Two men came to throw around sanitary napkins, embarrassed, then quickly bought and chose a new dress for Sangji. A girl knocked on his door to give her something because she was asked by two guys outside. She felt sad because she lost face, but Sang Yan took her out to eat, and Jiasu kindly brought her warm water. He stopped her and told the adults to eat first, but he said that so he could use that plate to fold up all the beef that she was allergic to for her. After eating and drinking, Sang Yan went to get a car and told his younger brother to go out with his two friends. Qian Fei pulled everyone over to the counter to pick up stuffed animals. When she saw the cute teddy bear, she went to pick it up. Just kidding, Jiasu told her to keep the money and this time he would treat her. While eating, she overheard the conversation between him and his boss, feeling that perhaps he really needed money. Zheng Chu then came and asked Jiasu. Sangji didn't care and finished the entire cup of sweet soup. While leaving, Sangji quickly turned back to ask Jiasu who was short of money later because she had heard the conversation earlier. He just smiled and said he still had enough gas to fuel her. Sangji ran away but still left money on the table. At the karaoke bar, everyone enthusiastically sang happy birthday to you. Zheng Chu grabbed Sangji's hand and before he could say a word, she hastily said her congratulations and left. Zheng Chu quickly chased her outside. He asked her if he didn't realize his feelings for her, so he came here to study because of her. Then he said he liked her. Sangji said so heartily that he should focus on his studies. Jiasu said that after high school, you shouldn't fall in love, but if someone likes you, you should say it politely to refuse. Then he took out the money from before and paid it to her. She also left more money to help him. He said he wasn't that miserable now, then added that in the future, if he was poor, Sangji should lend it to him. After that, he left. The next day at school, because of yesterday's birthday, it seemed like he had ignored Sangji. The teacher above announced that everyone in the school's sports festival was about to participate. Only Sangji did not register, so the teacher arranged for her to jump high. She didn't want to participate in tricking her painful knee joint, but the teacher didn't give up and even gave her a moral lecture and then signed up to help her. At recess, talking to Zhenru was like eating a lump of butter, making her very sad. The day of the sports festival came. Jing Chu also came to wish her well. She also encouraged him to try to make their relationship less awkward. Sang Yan and Jiasu were here to support the sports festival. Sang Yan, my teacher and I signed up for the high jump, criticized Sangji's modest height. Jiasu came to bring her a hat to wear to protect her from the sun. Sangji's competition round began. She walked quickly, but when she reached the pole, she didn't dare to jump for some reason. Sangji then concentrated hard and rushed forward. Even though she was in the right position, she was so weak that she couldn't get up, causing her to fall down. Sangji's middle school teacher saw that Jiasu was his older brother but let a stranger carry him. It made him feel very awkward. At the medical station, Jiasu takes care of Sangji. She said her brother always makes fun of her. Jiasu said that when she was injured earlier, Sang Yan was the one who was most worried. At this time Sang Yan came to bring water for the two. Jiasu also signaled Sangji to climb on his back. At this time, another girl was also injured in the yard. Jiasu also rushed out to take care of her, making Sangji sad. At the end of class, Jinru suddenly came over and asked her to go shopping with him, and Sangji unsuspectingly followed. Jiasu went out to meet her as promised, but Sangji was already with his friend. The two went to a dangerous alley and saw Jinru's unusual expression. Sangji saw that the place was dangerous and didn't want to go in, but the other girl kicked him and showed an unpleasant expression and then went alone. Because he was worried about his friend, Sangji quickly walked in to follow his friend. Jiasu still went around the school asking people to find Sangji. Jinru came to this dangerous alley because there were thugs stealing money. Because she ran out of money, she called Sangji to come. Sangji had her wallet stolen and then threw all her books on the ground. Jinru follows and apologizes to Sangji, but she yells loudly, "Get out." She meets Jiasu, who was looking for her. Seeing Jiasu, Sangji cried like a child. When he calmed down his emotions, Sangji told Jiasu everything that happened. The fact that they told them to bring more money tomorrow made Jiasu angry. He told her to call her family and him if she has any problems in the future. Normally, Sangji would take the bus home by herself, but now because she was injured, he let her ride home on a bicycle. Immersed in the sunlight, the two happily laughed and went home, erasing their previous worries. At the gate of the house, Jiasu gave her 50 yuan and told her to come in, then rode his bike and left. Sangji kept looking at his back and wrote his wish on a piece of paper. It seems this beautiful girl already likes that handsome guy. The next day after school, as soon as Sangji went out, he saw his brother, Jiasu, and a few other people waiting. Sang Yin called Sangji over and she led him to the alley. Aau then asked Sangji to describe those thugs. But those were just the girls. One stayed to look after Sangji. They are leisurely smoking. Sang Yin came and threw the package of cigarettes on the ground. Then he told about how these guys dared to rob his sister of money, but these girls said they didn't do anything. But seeing Sang Yan's face full of anger made them confess and pay 50 yuan. He was very angry. Jiasu rushed forward. The other girl was also very scared, so she knelt on the ground. He reminded them to study properly and not do this evil thing again. Then they all happily brought the money back to Sangji. The teacher announced that Jinru had to change schools because of school violence. Before leaving, she tearfully left a note for Sangji. Then he burst into tears and left with a sincere apology. Not long after that, the literature exam also came with a question about who named the river. Sangji was having fun with the stuffed fox when his parents entered the room with score sheets in their hands. On average, all subjects are very good, only physics has only 66 points. For Sangji, that's okay because it's the subject she hates the most. But the parents decided to invite a tutor to improve their mischievous daughter's performance in this subject. And the tutor their parents mentioned was none other than Sang Yen. Looks like he's a little nervous, but he holds 3 subjects and naturally he can handle them all. But the two brothers were like cats and dogs. As soon as the sister couldn't study well, the older brother got mad and started fighting. In the end, the decision had to be made, which was to change tutors. Sangji listened to his mother and thought that the way was to wake up early and leave. But the idea was easy, but the practice was difficult, so I fell asleep and strangely no tutor came. She went downstairs to relax with her brother. Or should she wait until Tet and then study? Sangji realized that the tutor had arrived very early and was preparing food in the kitchen. It is none other than Jiasu. I finished cooking the noodles and invited you two to join me. Jiasu heard all the nonsense conversation just now but didn't say anything but just joked. After finishing eating, Sangji went upstairs to clean his room, find books, and prepare to study. Downstairs, she saw her two brothers playing games, so she went over to tease them. Sang Yan said that he had just finished eating so he should have some fun, so he told her to go get some fruit from the refrigerator and eat together. Sangji excitedly went to get the watermelon, but the tool was a pounder, leaving his older brother speechless about his younger brother's childishness. Sangji gently held the phone in his hand and raised it to secretly take a photo of Jiasu. Jiasu was also very cooperative, posing for a photo. Oh, that's so good. When he went to his room to prepare for class, Jiasu asked Sangji about the photo. Sangji distracts from studying. Looking at Sangji's work, this girl even got the basic knowledge wrong. During class, Sangji's outstanding personality made Sangji listen attentively and with interest. Jiasu said that during the winter break, he would teach 3 times a week. Sangji said that was too little. She also had a question about why he went to school in Nanjing and not in Hunan, his hometown. Actually, it was because he had a dream of being a game maker. Jiasu walked in with a tired look on her face because she had to work the night shift. Seeing that, Sangji asked him to rest while. It sounded nice, so Jiasu went to take a nap. Sangji even delicately used his shirt to cover him. just woke up after a little sleep and saw that Sangji had begun to neglect his studies. When he asked, she said she was lazy. Looking at the pile of homework that Sangji did, she realized that the more she studied, the more she fell behind. But the student told the teacher to be confident in her talent because she was not interested in this subject. Jiasu thought of a way and went down to invite Sangji to the science museum tomorrow to make Sangji more interested in physics. The next day, as scheduled, the three of us went to the museum. Sang Yen felt bored, so he invited 2 people and me to go hiking. At the museum, Jiasu explains to Sangji that the bridge has physical properties inside it. The teacher thought she was a bit bored with theory, so he invited her to practice, and she felt very much in love with a dream. After that, they also went to play ostriches and other games related to the subject. The 2 men promised each other that they would both strive for their dreams. Outside, Sangji added if he could not love anyone. When Jiasu asked why, she explained that if she fell in love while studying, it would affect her dream. Then she also used the example of her friend, whose brother had a girlfriend and was no longer nice to her. But actually, I don't have any friends. Jiasu agrees that if he finds a girlfriend, he will find someone who will be good to her. Hearing that, she felt even more pain. Then the 2 of them went to the gate because Sang Yan was there waiting to return with them. Jiasu then had urgent work at work that needed to be fixed urgently, so he went to a nearby chair to do it and told the 2 to go home first. As soon as he got home, Sangji searched and searched but couldn't find his diary. A notebook records every moment with Jiasu and her from childhood until now. Thinking back, when the 2 of them left at the museum, she probably forgot it in the museum. Then he quickly called the museum staff and sure enough, it was true. But Jiasu had already gone there to take it back. Hearing that was mind-boggling. The next day Jiasu gave the notebook to Sang Yan and sent it back to her. If your teacher hadn't called me, he probably would have seen it all. At night, Sang Yan returned to the dormitory and he was very worried about Sangji having an online boyfriend. Jiasu also noticed and said he would come over and talk to her the next day. It's time for physics class, and Sangji is worried about whether Jiasu will believe her fake boyfriend story. Jiasu and Sang Yan came to chat with her. He asked about the other person's Sophie until she told him that the other guy was 20 and I was not yet 18. After that, Jiasu directly sat down to chat, asking him to enter his phone number to explore, but there was no way she could cast the spell. Jiasu continued to begin to master the art of brainpower. In high school, you should study hard and then go to college. If you want to love someone, no one will stop you. Sangji sat up and said that if you had a lover, I would also want to love you to please you. Jiasu was speechless, so he advised that if he was under 18, he should not go meet that young man. During the following winter holidays, the 2 of them worked hard to study. Sangji finally succeeded. Parents, 97/100 is what Sangji tried. He told her that if she improved like that, he wouldn't come to wake her up anymore. If she didn't understand, just text or call him. Sangji was very sad but still agreed. He promised that if he scored high on the exam, he would always have a gift for her. Going down to Jiasu's house, Sangji's parents invited him to stay and celebrate New Year's Eve with them, but he was busy today and made an appointment for another day. Sangji was a bit sad, then ran to his room to find a lucky money envelope. Money isn't worth much, so Sangji used her feelings to write a New Year's greeting to Jiasu, then she put the lucky money in Jiasu's pocket. In the evening, the Sang family members together wished their parents a Happy New Year. Seeing his younger brother receive more lucky money from his parents, Sang Yen looked at him and felt that he was innocent. But it turned out that it was the phone that Sangji's parents confiscated when they heard that she had an online lover. At this time, Sangji learned that Jiasu had left without telling him. Just like when he was young, because he liked Jiasu, due to geographical distance, Sangji couldn't take the initiative to come see him, so he often called Sang Yen so he could meet Jiasu. When he called the other day and heard that Jiasu was coming to his house to visit, Sangji happily stayed at home and waited. But when he saw his brother coming home alone, Sangji was very disappointed. Returning to reality in the room where Sangji unpacked the goods, it was a lovely teddy bear. She called to thank her and wanted to return the favor, but he just wanted to accept her feelings and told her to keep the money and use it. Sangji quickly put the gift back so that the graduation ceremony would use it to give to him. At this time, someone knocked on Jiasu's door. As soon as he opened the door, it was a very beautiful girl. The atmosphere suddenly felt awkward. The girl took out an envelope of money from her pocket and told him to use that money to treat her father. Although it was difficult, Jiasu did not accept it but thanked him for his kindness. The girl wanted to come to his graduation ceremony, but he said he would only bother her, so she left sadly. On graduation day, Sangji came with his father. Sangji gave Jiasu a bouquet of flowers. About to give a precious gift, Jiasu thanked her and told her to take a photo, so she didn't have time to take it out and give it to her. Seeing her brother and Jiasu's close friends parting ways also made her a little sad. Jiasu said she would visit her often and asked her friend to take photos for them to keep as memories. That night, at the graduation party, everyone happily drank alcohol. When I opened my phone to check, I saw many missed calls from a girl named Truong Din. Attached was a message congratulating him on his graduation. After Sang Yen played until the end with his brothers, he drove the car and was asked by Jiasu to go home. The whole family also started to go down. Because it was too late, the family also told Jiasu to stay one day. That night, when Sangji went to get water, he saw Jiasu sitting alone in worship, thinking as for what the doctor said, my father's condition is stable, but the inflammation may return. The girl Truong Din kept texting and bothering her, but he didn't care. Sangji saw it and came to ask, so he told him to tell him, it would be better. Jiasu didn't want her to worry, so he said it was nothing and added that he owed a lot of people. Hearing what Craig said, Sangji promised that when he grew up, he would help him pay off all those debts. Going to Sangji's room, he wrote that he would help Jiasu pay off his debt in the future and put it in a jar. In the morning, Jiasu packed his things and left. Jiasu also texted him to send him his test scores later. She also reminded her to keep her promise about her lover. Coming to school, Sangji looked at the test scores at Hunan University and determined that would be his goal. After that, Sangji worked hard to study and her ranking continued to increase. While having fun, he went down to the kitchen to see his brother talking to his concubine about the fact that Jiasu had a girlfriend. She sadly went to her room to send a message to ask, but then quickly deleted it, thinking it was fake because Jiasu had tricked her into showing her his girlfriend first. The next day, Sangji acted very foolishly and secretly bought a ticket for his family to fly to Hunan. Sang Yan and his family accidentally went looking for it, then called and asked his stubborn sister what happened that night. Then Sangji made up a story about meeting her boyfriend online at that time. Annoyed, Sang Yan called Jiasu to come pick her up from the airport and told her to stay there. Not long after that, Jiasu wore an elegant suit and there was a beautiful girl next to him. Jiasu blamed her for daring to go so far just to meet her online lover. She really wanted to ask him who the girl next to her was, but she didn't dare confess. He put his shirt on her, then asked if she had met her boyfriend yet. Her eyes filled with tears and she said that person didn't like her at all and criticized her for being young. When she went to the bathroom, she burst into tears and saw two people outside talking intimately, which made Sangji even more hurt. After a while, when she came out, Jiasu was waiting alone because the other girl was busy. He apologized for being harsh to her earlier. The two sat down to eat breakfast together. Sangji took out a gift that he hadn't been able to give at graduation. He happily thanked him and went to answer the phone. Seeing Jiasu leave, Sangji quickly took his wallet and stuffed all the money he had saved into it for him. On the plane home that Jiasu had booked for her, he also told her not to let this affect her studies. Sangji took out the teddy bear that Jiasu gave her at the amusement park and gave it to him, hoping he would always be happy. He patted her head and comforted her. After all, she was just heartbroken. Young people had to cry because of love to grow up. When she got home, her parents didn't care, but when she went upstairs, they went to ask Sang Yan. Seeing that their child was sad, they didn't want to ask too much, but just assumed she had just returned from extra school. Go to Sangji's room to get the things Jiasu left behind. The note said she would help Jiasu put them in a box to forget all memories of him. Finally, with great effort, she also passed the exam at Hunan University. And she also has new close friends in the dormitory. That girl is Ning Wei, in addition to having a personality that loves skateboarding, Ruolan. Everyone gathered together when a person introduced himself as Jiang Ming who accidentally met Ruolan and helped. With an extroverted personality, Ning Wei did not hesitate to ask for his private message so she could invite him to celebrate her birthday tomorrow. The next night, the four dressed up beautifully and went to the karaoke bar. Jiang Ming also brought his friends from her gym club, so we all went into the karaoke room together. Sangji accidentally passed by Jiasu. Jiasu is now also a game programmer and is having fun with his partner. Jiang Ming tried his best to start a conversation with Sangji and had just said a few words when Ning Wei came to visit. Sangji took his shirt out to breathe some fresh air when he suddenly dropped it. Before I could pick it up, I looked up at the male god Jiasu who was sitting here. He went over and picked it up and asked her what year she started smoking. Sangji said that it was just a friend's medicine that he mistakenly put on his shirt. After so many years of not talking casually with Jiasu, now that we meet again, she doesn't know what to say. Jiasu asked about the holidays but didn't come to his place to play, then continued to ask about how long it had been since he sent messages without receiving a reply. She just shyly said that because she studied hard, she didn't have time. Because it was late at night, Jiasu offered to take her home, but Sangji refused. She continued to go inside and have fun with her friends, then suddenly her mother called and she quickly left. Going out, Sangji remembered that Jiasu had always called him a kid, so he suddenly called him an old man, but Jiasu was still sitting there in a pile. I heard him coming over to chat and was ready to take her home because she came home alone. On the car, when he noticed that she was cold, he delicately turned on the engine to fix it. Jiasu's house is located on the opposite side of her road. He asked her why she kept her distance from him just now, but Sangji shyly said it was because he kept calling her a kid. Then the two told more about each other, about how Sang Yan was angry when she chose to study here. The two of them were very tense. Not long after chatting in the car, the two of them arrived at the dormitory campus. Jiasu gave her honey so she could drink it to relieve the hangover, Then he added that when he heard Sang Yan say she would come here to study, she was very happy. Going to Sangji's room, there was now only Jiasu's silhouette, wondering if he had a girlfriend. The next morning, the whole group of friends were surprised to hear that Sangji came home alone. Sangji went to ask about her friend's love story with her group of friends, but everyone knew that the story was hers. Sangji asked about that friend secretly liking Sang Yan's friend, but accidentally he already had a lover. A few friends asked if that person still had a girlfriend, but Sangji guessed no, then asked Sangji if he still liked him, but she didn't know how ambiguous her feelings were. So my friends analyzed that the handsome and talented boy in the legend definitely had a lover. Knowing that his group of friends were making fun of him, Sangji turned around and left. Back in his room, Sang Yan called and told him to invite Jiasu to dinner when he was free, because every time he got a high score or a ceremony, Jiasu would buy her a gift even though his finances were limited at that time. I feel guilty when Jiasu is so good to me and yet I always let him eat. At Jiasu's company, everyone is having a meeting about the game Wanderer's Dream. I asked everyone if they had any ideas for the next update. Jiasu stood up and announced that he would bring artificial intelligence to every NPC in the game, then open the trial version for Lee Sun to experience first. The two lost the game of Go and Lee Sun was teased by him, making everyone laugh. In addition, he also updates that NCP with self-use actions to a certain extent. If the female character wants to steal the cup of wine from his hand, she will be flirted with and picked up. Everyone sees that this project is very promising, but if it is put into the game, more NCP will be needed and that will have a very high risk rate. I will think more about this issue. Jiasu told the juniors in the new company to just keep talking and not worry. On this side, Sangji sent a message to Jiasu to arrange a meal to thank him. He happily agreed to meet on the weekend. In the morning, the three of them went to school together when Ning Wei, far away, walked up with her new boyfriend, both wearing matching shirts. Jiang Ming also went to find Sangji and invited her to watch a movie. Ning Wei said there were many girls here but it was a bit strange for him to only invite one, so he invited them all. But Sangji refused because she had an appointment with Jiasu at the weekend. Jiasu was at home when she received a package from the girl Jiang Ying. Jiasu, without saying much, threw it into the corner of a room where many of the things she sent were stored. He then sent the money back to her. The worried girl called him but he turned off the phone. Jiasu has a stomach ache. Sangji arrived at the place where they went to eat but couldn't find Jiasu, so she called to ask and found out he was in pain and writhing in pain. Hearing that, Sangji immediately took a car to go see his situation. Seeing that he couldn't walk, he went to help him walk. Sangji energetically caught the car, then turned around and bumped into Jiasu. Both of them were extremely shy. When he arrived at the hospital, and only half a year later, he had earned enough money to pay off that debt of gratitude. After the surgery, the doctor told Jiasu to stay here for a week to recover. Sangji had prepared here a lot of necessary supplies. Jiasu saw that it was late, so he told Sangji to go home. Then he lay thinking about the moment when he accidentally kissed her cheek. Sangji felt insecure when he went out, so he decided to stay and take care of him. At night, Sangji lay next to Jiasu's bed to sleep. Then when she turned on her phone, her friends were worried why she was home late. Her cousin is sick, so she will stay at the hospital to take care of him. Opening the messages sent by Jiang Ming, they were all voice messages. Jiasu hadn't slept yet and told Sangji not to sleep because he hadn't listened to the entire voice message. But Sangji didn't care and only focused on studying. When I went outside, I met Jiang Ming. Sangji apologized because his brother was sick and promised to invite him again next time. At the hospital, Jiasu opened his phone to check and saw that the game he made had many errors. Called my boss and wanted a computer, but my boss told me to rest or the company would lose talent. When he went to the bathroom, a phone call came from Jiang Ying, then she texted that she had emotional problems and wanted him to forgive her. Sangji came to his house. The room was neat and on the table were souvenir photos taken with her, along with his mother. Sangji opened the closet, took out the items and neatly packed them into the bag. She thought she might need protective pants, so she shyly put them inside. Pick up your backpack and go. When you go out, Jiang Ying also comes here to make a call and knock on the door. Arriving at the hospital, Sangji opened his bag and found underwear on top, leaving both speechless. She was angry at him for not working too late and then arranged his things in the closet for him. Knowing that she hadn't eaten yet, Jiasu always told her to go eat. She came over to tease him. He appeared next to him and asked Jiasu if this was your wife. She explained that this was just his sister, but he mistakenly heard that she was his fiancée. He praised Sangji for being very beautiful and told her to choose her or else she would be robbed. The next morning, when I woke up, I saw Jiasu awake. Today is the day he is discharged from the hospital. The old man further told the two to get along and not quarrel. Going out, Jiasu thanked him for the past few days and apologized for being so annoying, but Sangji didn't listen and walked away. Returning to Jiasu's house, she remembered the moments she spent taking care of him. The feelings she holds in her heart are probably not like Jiasu's. Sangji then took out a piece of paper to record the time. She told him to try to rest in the near future. Jiasu wanted to see her off, but she said no need and left. Jiasu felt that it would be good for both of them. When going to work, Jiasu asked for help from his colleagues to ask why Sangji was angry. The boss said that perhaps Sangji was a teenage girl, so she had an unusual spirit and was having sex in the afternoon sun. Jiang Ying called again to bother him. Jiasu told him not to contact him again and hung up. When going shopping with Jiang Ming, Sangji suddenly saw a teddy bear picker like Jiasu gave him before. She showed off her talent, but because she was a bit stupid, she couldn't pick it up. Jiang Ming walked over and saw that Sangji liked it, so he also wanted to give it to her. When he successfully picked it up and was about to give it to her, Sangji also picked it up himself. So Jiang Ming decided to ask her out to eat. It was already dark, so Sangji refused and the two returned to the dormitory. 3 girls came together. Ming Wei invited the girl who was coming to watch the fireworks display with them, but Sangji didn't want to go because he was afraid of the cold. The next day everyone got dressed. Ruolan took off her glasses and wore a very pretty dress that surprised everyone. All 3 girls blew kisses to Sangji and then left. Jiang Ming stood since afternoon waiting for her to give her a gift, but she didn't come, so he had to put it back. Sangji didn't let it go. While laughing and chatting happily, Jiang Ying and her friends also walked in. As soon as she saw Jiasu, she started screaming and Jiasu told her not to contact her again. Then she grabbed water and threw it in Jiasu's face. Sangji also kicked her and picked up the glass of water and threw it back at her. Jiang Ying lost control and picked up the plate of food to attack. Jiasu stood up and threw it away, warning her not to do that again in the future. Sangji pulled Jiasu out to wipe his face and then put on his clothes. She asked what happened between him and that girl. What Jiasu just said is not very relevant to his life. His father was previously an old debtor of her family. Sangji worriedly asked her if she had the same attitude every time. Then take the medicine and gently rub the wound on his sweet face. The first snow of the season begins to fall. Sangji clasps his hands and wishes Jiasu can stay away from unpleasant things and the one who is with him will be hers. Jiasu also clasped his hands together and prayed that Sangji would always be healthy. Sangji's group of friends also clasped their hands in prayer. It seems that Yunhak really likes Jiang Ming, so she made a wish related to him. Jiasu happily went home but suddenly saw Jiang Ying waiting for her. She burst into tears and apologized for not being able to control her emotions. Jiasu told her to stay away from him. Jiang Ying just said that his father killed her father, so he still owes her. But Jiasu paid all the compensation every year and now his father also has to bear the corresponding price. Jiasu went upstairs, remembered the old days when he and his mother went to Jiang Ying's house to apologize for not accepting and kicking them out. Jiang Ying then burst into tears. At school, he even wrote a letter of apology. Friends in class gossiped about his father causing an accident. Jiasu goes outside to look at the photo taken with his mother and Sangji. Remembering Sangji's words of encouragement comforted him somewhat. Fireworks were being displayed outside. Jiasu rode up to the courtyard and then took out his phone to take a photo. He remembered the scenes of Sangji by his side that made him very happy. A while later Qianfei called him and told him he was getting married and told him about proposing to his girlfriend. Qianfei also asked if he had a girl in his heart. Hearing those words, he immediately thought of Sangji. Qianfei had a premonition to ask when he saw Jiasu silent. He shyly turned off the phone. The next morning, Sangji told her friends to go out and she went to deliver things to her brother. The boss told Jiasu that someone was causing trouble under the company. Looking outside, he saw the Olish Sangji walking slowly. He went to the next door to stop Sangji, told her not to suddenly come to his company or home because he was worried about her safety. Sangji heard that he thought he stopped loving him, gave him the things and then left in tears. The boss said she would inform Jiang Ying later when she came, but luckily she didn't see Sangji just now or else I don't know what she would have done to me. Sangji felt lost and sad because of those words, just hoping to receive a text message explaining. Jiasu finished work and texted her to ask for her flight schedule home. When Sangji received the text message, he was happy to reply immediately, but he only texted okay. He added that he would come to take her to the airport that day. Ming Wei just had an argument with her boyfriend, so she wanted to invite everyone to go hang out after the exam. Sangji wanted to go right away because he was also sad, but they still had an exam tomorrow. Ming Wei then received a reconciling phone call from her boyfriend, so she happily left. When everyone was gone, Wang Huk asked Sangji if anything was wrong but only posted status stories. Wang Huk said that seeing that Sangji was treating that guy very well, if he wasn't good, he should find someone else. But there is a bad luck in that he is not only good but also handsome, so it hurts. After the exam, we all went to the bar together as scheduled. Sangji saw a very delicious heavy wine, so he tried a lot. Jiang Ming took the title and sang to give it to his friends. When he sings, he always looks at Sangji and she has a soft car that doesn't know the sky or the clouds. She sat down and felt nauseous. When Jiasu came and wanted to carry her, she sat up and vomited all over his sleeve, all over him. Jiasu took Sangji to a place with a cool and peaceful breeze, suitable for vomiting without losing face among the drinkers. He asked if he wanted to carry her home, but she refused, saying that his wound had not healed yet and he could not exercise vigorously. After 3 months passed, he was confident that he could carry her. She stood up, sat down, said she was over 45 kilograms, then burst into tears, saying she was extremely fat. Jiasu commented that she was very cute when she was drunk and bland. After this, she agreed to let him carry her. Sangji told him a secret that she really liked a brother, but maybe he didn't like her. She didn't say that person. Jiasu asked her to describe that person, but she angrily said that he was very good and that everyone was good, so let her go. Jiasu carried her into the car. Sangji was already fast asleep. He said to himself that he would be the person she just said and would only be good to her. When she woke up the next morning, Sangji remembered that he had vomited on Jiasu, and then in a daze he couldn't remember what he said to him last night. Jiasu texted and said he would come to see her off to the airport later. Her friends gathered to ask if that was the person she liked because Jiasu was very lucky. When she got off the street, Jiasu was waiting. At this time Jiangming also ran to find her. Jiasu told the two to continue talking. Jiangming said that the song at night was given to her and that he liked her very much. Sangji heard a sweet refusal because someone had entered her rose garden. In the car, Jiasu asked if the person from before was the person she said she liked. She said she refused, telling him to grow up and find a girlfriend. Jiasu wanted to find someone her age. Hearing him say that, she felt like she still had a chance. Sang Yan went to the airport to take Sangji home. His parents rushed out to ask Han, but he was like a child picked up from a banana tree and no one cared. Sangji used the allowance his parents gave to buy a gift for his parents. Sang Yan also got a gift and it was a very cool pair of glasses. During the meal, his parents told him that Sang Yan had just been taken on a blind date the day before, but he didn't go and left him alone and cold. Sangji wanted to match her friend for him, but her brother arrogantly said that he also had many suitors, so there was no need for matchmaking. That night in Sangji's room, he took out the box he kept and opened it, and inside were teddy bears and Jiasu's congratulations to him. She kept thinking about the 4-year age difference and felt the love story was difficult and unstable. The next day Jiasu arranged to go out to eat with Qian Fei. Qian Fei asked about the girlfriend he wanted to pursue. He just told me that she was a very young girl. She said she liked people who treated everyone well, just like chap boys. As soon as she heard it, Qian Fei was sure that it was Jiasu. All of Qian Fei's logical deductions make Jiasu wonder if the person Sangji likes is really him. Qian Fei's wedding has also arrived, and officials from both families participated in the casting. Later, Jiasu also came with the tie that Sangji had given him before. Sang Yan told Jiasu that if he said something to pour honey into his hand, he would give him lucky money. Jiasu called Sang Yan brother, leaving everyone speechless. Sang Yan asked Sangji to change places with him. Qian Fei and her princess also came down. While reading Sangji's messages, Jiasu saw that the nickname she was called at home was Sister Chi. Sangji said only relatives call her that. Then seeing his name saved in his phone as Brother 2 made him laugh. He asked again where she met the person she liked. Sangji was always worried and said he met her at her shop, but Jiasu remembers saying we'd meet at a karaoke bar. It was tense. Being caught, she said she only missed Goldfish a little. Sangji stood up and asked to go home first. Jiasu also hurriedly followed and borrowed Sang Yan's car key to wait for her to return. He said it would be annoying for other people, but she was an exception. He then took the lucky money card to Sangji and called her Sister Chi, making her very happy. Waiting for Sangji to return home, Jiasu also gave her a bracelet with her name engraved on it. When entering Sangji's house, she looked up the meaning of giving bracelets online, and they added that the saying was the meaning of love. She just laughed and thought he only cared for her like a sister and then took the bracelet away. Mom and Dad told that Jiasu would come pick him up tomorrow. But he had never bought a ticket because he wanted to be able to go with her. After waiting until midnight, someone finally found a ticket for him. The next morning, Jiasu came to pick up Sangji with silly eyes and a carefree smile. He gave Sangji breakfast and saw that her hand was not wearing a bracelet, which made her bitter. Knowing he hadn't had breakfast yet, she divided the cake in half so they could both eat. While waiting at the airport, his friend recognized Jiasu and came to say hello. He asked the person next to him if he was his girlfriend. Sangji thought for a moment. He immediately denied that there was any such thing. He continued to say that he and she did not have that relationship. Sangji still seemed suspicious. He reminded her of his old promise. Sangji asked again when he was looking for him in high school and there was a girl with him. Sangji realized that he had not forgotten his promise, which warmed his heart. Returning to the dormitory, Sangji happily said goodbye to Jiasu and Ningwei who were. Sangji recently said that he had recently treated her more closely, but what she was afraid of was that if a boy she had just fallen in love with would be attacked directly. And he is someone who has been by her side and seen her entire growth process. Ningwei said it's okay because there's only a 4-year age difference in love, but age doesn't reflect the love one person has for the other. On the way back, Jiasu called Qian Fei to ask about his girlfriend's behavior. When he arrived at the company, he called her. At this time, Sangji's friends were happy to tell him that the hunter had started hunting. Jiasu made an appointment to eat with Sangji on Friday. They were all happy thinking that Sangji's unrequited love had been rewarded. Ruolan asked about Jiang Ming and she said she had rejected the relationship and they both still considered each other friends. Uxian and Ning Wei speculate that perhaps Jiasu will take advantage of this confession, making Sangji look forward to it. At the company, Jiasu was praised by everyone for having bold ideas. After that, Jiasu went to the dormitory to pick up Sangji. Jiasu said he would take her to the restaurant, making her keep thinking about whether that girl is his girlfriend. Arriving at the restaurant, Jiasu introduced the girl sitting opposite him as Si-yun, his boss. Sitting down to choose his food, he received a text message to leave, when only the two girls were left, happily confiding in each other. When she arrived at the airport that day, Jiasu was sick and wanted to let her husband go with her, but she was busy so she went along for peace of mind. At this moment, Sangji realized that when I burst into tears, it turned out that the two of them were talking about me because I made up my own performance. Jiasu returned with everyone in the office, then introduced Sangji to everyone as the friend who made Sangji happy. 12. As soon as everyone sat down, Jiasu grabbed Sangji's hand and left. He wanted to have a private outing with her. The two went to the shopping center. Jiasu ordered a glass of iced matcha to celebrate our love story, but when she drank it, it was milk tea. Knowing she was allergic to his haste to return it. When he returned, he saw that her face was red, so he took her to the pharmacy to buy medicine. Because his face was red, Sangji had no choice but to hide his beauty in a scarf. Jiasu kept asking questions, making her confused. Seeing that she kept scratching because of the heat, he held her hand. She was curious why he told everyone he was friends. Jiasu replied that she probably considered herself a brother. He thought about saying something more, but he was embarrassed. The group of friends at home don't know how the talented couple is progressing. They even thought maybe Sangji would sleep over at his house. Mentioning money and silver are not seen, but when mentioning crap appears. They were startled when they looked like a bandit on the White Sea, but Sangji signaled that everything was okay. Sangji happily recounted that perhaps Jiasu also had something called love. But so her experiences must be the price. On Sangji's birthday, she dressed up in a red dress. On the way, she met Jiang Ming. He wished her a happy birthday, gave it to her, and offered to celebrate her birthday. But when he turned to look at Jiasu behind him, he quickly left. The guy here looked at that scene and felt a bit jealous, holding it for her. He approached and asked if he was the same person she described in the car. Sangji blushed and was about to admit it, but remembered what his friend said. The price must have gone up. The two of them rushed to the afternoon movie, but the tickets were sold out. So we both took the bus to the center to watch. When everyone was about to go down, Jiasu put his body out to shield him and told him to hold onto him or else he would fall. Jiasu even pushed Sangji closer to him so that no one else could be seen. Let's go, old FA guys. Arriving at the commercial area, the two of them bought water and then entered the cinema. The two touched each other's hands. Sangji was afraid that his hands would be cold, so Jiasu wanted her to warm his hands. Jiasu also withdrew his hand and told her that they had no status at the moment. After watching the movie, Jiasu wanted to take her home because he had prepared a small birthday party for her there. She was still upset that he had told her not to come to the house or the company without permission. Jiasu heard and said that at that time, Jiangning kept coming to find him, afraid that she would be in danger. He also apologized for not explaining clearly. All of Sangji's blind spots were laughed off. The two arrived at Jiasu's house and went to the rooftop. Here is a small table of food and a flickering light bulb. On the food table were two cakes, one he made himself and the other was afraid of being half-eaten so he ordered more. Looking at Jiasu setting up candles, Sangji teased him and feared that by the time his birthday came, there wouldn't be enough candles to put up. The two of them cut and ate the cake together. Jiasu took out a birthday gift for her and asked what the conditions were to pursue her. Sangji said that in addition to being handsome and kind, that person must be a head taller than her. Jiasu stood up and said that he met all of these conditions. Is it possible to pursue her honestly? Jiasu continued that he did not want to be her second brother but would want to be her boyfriend. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. After that, Sangji had no choice but to say that he should pursue it. Jiasu complimented her on how pretty she dressed today. Afterwards, Sangji returned to her room and everyone suddenly celebrated her birthday. They saw the two cakes. Sangji opened it and saw a mini camera inside. Jiasu remembered that perhaps when she bought it, Jiasu accidentally took a photo of his beautiful self. Sangji even joked that the photo was a bit blurry, but blurry. At this time, Sang Yan's brother also sent her a happy birthday. She texted that she now has a boyfriend. He didn't mind, but he found out that the person was older than her. Sangji looked at the new camera and took pictures in front of the room. Ning Wei walked over and asked when Sangji said yes. She also thought about Jiasu's attitude because she thought he was just joking. Mingwei reassured that there would be no such pessimism, making Sangji also feel secure. In the morning at school, Jiasu texted Mai to ask if she was free. He was about to answer yes, but Mingwei stopped him, saying that if a girl is pursued by a boy, she should be beaten a bit. He asked again the next day and was refused again. So the guy asked the company guys. They advised that this is a challenge that must be overcome when entering the beauty stage. Depending on your attitude, you will be able to pass the stage. Sangji was worried and was about to call when he saw Jiasu texting for an appointment on Thursday afternoon. Mingwei saw that he was also clever enough to pass the test, so he agreed. Jiasu jumped up happily. At the appointment, she dressed up beautifully. Then the guy on the other side called to say the company had something to do, so they rescheduled the appointment for another day. On another occasion, he continued to be busy. The day Sangji dressed up like an angel, Jiasu was still busy because she had too much work. Sangji was not angry and said it was okay, but her actions made her friends howl. But thanks to her friends, she was less sad. The next day, after finishing the deadline at the company, he was about to take Sangji out when suddenly the hospital called. So Sangji continued to be forced to climb trees by Jiasu. Jiasu arrived at the hospital in a dazed state. Currently, his father has been in a vegetative state for 9 years and now has some illnesses that require him to have surgery. That day, he and his mother waited for his father to come home and have dinner with him, but when he returned, he was in a daze. When he returned, he was bleeding and told that he had caused an accident and did not know whether the other person was alive or dead. Jiasu was about to call an ambulance, but his father stopped him in fear. Although mother and son advised him to stop him, he jumped down from the upstairs because he did not want to be arrested. Since that day, when Jiasu entered university, mother and son lived in poverty, and he had to study and work from morning to night. He wanted to quit school to earn money, but his mother did not agree and told him to finish school. His mother also spent a lot of dust because of worrying about food and clothing and got a stomach ailment. Because of her serious illness, she had to be hospitalized. She did not want her son to have to work hard because of her and borrow money to take care of her. Back to reality, Jiasu is sad, so he goes out and makes an appointment to meet Sangji. The two of them walked together. She saw that he was probably very tired, so she told him to smile. She went to the cotton candy counter and made one herself for Jiasu. When he finished eating, he smiled like a winner and said he understood what she meant. No normal person would make cotton candy for someone else. She had to have feelings to do it, so it was inferred that she had agreed to date them. Sangji could only laugh when he heard it, then said he wanted to see his efforts, then continued that tomorrow he would have to go to school to listen to a lecture from a senior. Early in the morning, as soon as she entered class, Jiasu borrowed Ruolan's seat to sit with her girlfriend. Seeing him keep looking at her, Sangji decided to pretend to sleep. Watching her pretend, Jiasu used his hand to touch her plump cheek. The two of them looked at each other. Sangji told him to come closer and she would tell him the story about the demons in the green forest. When he leaned over to let her speak, Sangji suddenly gave him a kiss on the cheek. After studying, the two of them went for a walk together. Suddenly, Jiang Ming fell down, making Ruolan very worried and went out to see. Because there was a shortage of people, Jiasu also accidentally came to play football. Jiang Ming asked Ruolan about Jiasu and realized that the two of them were not cousins. Summer vacation is coming up. Mingwei is going on a trip with her boyfriend. Uxian decided to stay to intern. Sangji saw that first years could intern, so he also wanted to stay. She texted her brother, explaining that she would not return this summer but would stay and apply for an internship. Sang Yen grumpily sent a voice thinking that she was intentionally staying to go out with that older boyfriend, so he told her to definitely go home. In the morning, Ruolan went to see Jiang Ming to give him a bottle of medicine to heal his wound. She further asked if he was sad that Sangji had a lover. Jiang Ming replied that he was happy because his lover was happy. Two girls saw it and told her that if she liked it, she had to move. Today was Jiasu's birthday. When he left, Sangji texted that there would be a surprise for him, and as soon as he went out, the beautiful girl made him fall. Two people up, two people just take turns and it's beautiful. Sangji asked Sang Yan if he wished him a happy birthday yet. Jiasu didn't pay attention because he didn't even remember Sang Yan's birthday. Sangji texted Sang Yan asking if he knew what day today was. Not long after that, Sang Yan called Jiasu. Sangji even pretended not to understand why his brother called. Sang Yan congratulated Jiasu on her birthday and also said that the birthday gift was hers. Then asked if he had met Sangji's boyfriend yet and he said yes. Sangji disagreed. Jiasu said she should break up with that boyfriend and get to know him. She kicked him and said she was now his girlfriend. The two went to the restaurant. Sangji created a balloon table with the staff. Sangji went into the kitchen to cook the chungno noodles for Jiasu. At home, she never cooked, so she was a bit absent-minded in the kitchen. Outside, Jiasu found it cute and took a photo of her. Sangji pushed him out and said she could do this, EA suffix 15 PGG she could still handle it, so she locked up these three things. After 30 minutes of fighting in the kitchen, she successfully brought out a bowl of noodles. She told Jiasu to just take pictures because she wasn't sure if it was edible or not. Jiasu obeyed and took a photo. At the wish performance, she asked him what he wished for. Jiasu said that he wished she would become his girlfriend. Sangji thought about the pastime. She agreed to go on a date with him. The two went out to the beach to confide, and Jiasu told about his unhappy family. He is homeless and has no dowry, but Sangji replied that he didn't care about material things. The next day, Sangji went to the library to review, but Jiasu stopped her and invited her to his house. Entering the house, Jiasu told her to go to her room to study and he would go cook. He sat behind and looked attentively. Seeing that, she knew she was beautiful, so she turned back and forth to keep him warm. He asked her to be shy, but she seemed very embarrassed. The two went out to eat together. Sangji wanted to be a maid and wash the dishes, and Jiasu wore a scarf for her. Sitting in the room studying, the atmosphere was so cool that it made Sangji sleepy. When Jiasu entered the room, she was startled and fell to the ground. Jiasu immediately hugged her and pushed her to lie on the bed. She nervously pushed him away. He covered her with a blanket. Sangji holds Jiasu's hand and tells her it's not that she doesn't like him. Jiasu said he loved her very much and told her to go to sleep. At night, the two held hands and walked together. When he got home, he texted her to wish her good night. Xianfei also called to inquire. He said he was going to Hunan for work soon, so he wanted his best friend to have a drink. Jiasu agreed to treat him to a sumptuous meal. Seeing his friend Xianfei being generous, he also thought that maybe Fa had known love for decades. He informed his close friends. Jiasu also said that Xianfei also knew this person and that she was also studying in Hunan. Ruolan is interviewing Jiang Ming about the sport he loves. His face clearly showed tension, which made her very happy. When Sangji returned to architecture, he saw that Ning Wei had not written any thesis. After Ning Wei's questioning, Sangji confessed that he had studied at Jiasu's house that day. Ning Wei guessed that Jiasu took the initiative. Sangji asked his friend if being in love is stressful. Ning Wei happily told about his love story and said that if they love each other, they should just act as normal. If you can't be passive, then become proactive. She texted Jiasu to go out on the weekend. The two went roller skating together. Sangji told him not to be straightforward because today she would express her feelings to him. Jiasu immediately closed the deal. Just as Sangji closed his eyes and was about to kiss, Jiasu wrote and ran away. He taught her how to roller skate until she accidentally hugged him. Sangji took advantage of pressing and immediately kissed Jiasu on the lips. Jiasu said that at that time, she was still mentally unprepared, so the two beauties exchanged a passionate kiss in the middle of East-West Avenue. In the following days, Sangji's group's exam ended. All three of them did well. Only Ning Wei was impermanent and innocuous, and his lover was the truth. Suddenly, someone called to tell Sangji that she had completed 8 rounds of interviews. She was so happy that she went home to skip the exam celebration. At the company, while discussing a new project, Jiasu's boss relapsed from an old illness. Meanwhile, Sangji dresses up in beautiful office clothes for an internship. Everyone has their own internship and has to leave the dormitory. Suddenly her brother called, but Sangji said she was on vacation, but she had found a job so she couldn't come home. Her brother thought she stayed because her boyfriend was older than her. Her friends told her to tell her brother the truth, but before she could be sincere, her brother quickly blocked her. She went to practice with a friend named Wan Jia. Millions of raindrops fell. None of them was a coincidence because her boss was Jiang Ying's close friend named Xian Wu. She didn't like it, but the hiring department forced her to do whatever she wanted. The boss is a bit rude, but her colleagues are still very nice and enthusiastic to help her. At night, Sang Yan was still angry and took back all her lucky money. On the first day, she only told her parents that it was very good. The two went out to eat together. The guy was worried that his girlfriend was being bullied, so he kept asking questions. She said everything was very good, and the next day at the company she was like Sin, having to do all the work of mixing water and meet deadlines to get it done. So much so that when it was time to eat, everyone went to eat, and she was the only one who had to sell her soul to the capitalists. Just talking to the guy for a bit, Xian Wu came over to remind him that he had to leave early, intending to surprise Jiasu, who was forced to stay and work for another 2 hours. Here at Jiasu Company, the boss has gone to the hospital, so everyone is busy and depends on the eldest brother to do everything. He didn't intend to help, but not. After that, he also went out to pick up his girlfriend from work, and the two happily talked to each other. He told her about the time when he first entered society and its hardships. Xian Wu called again and assigned work, causing Sangji to return to her room and continue to hunch over to meet the deadline. She sent him a good night message, but he was surprised. But outside, he had gone to the company to work overtime. Early in the morning, he came to pick her up from work. Looking at his pale face, Sangji knew he had worked overtime all night. Seeing her sad, he comforted her and promised to eat well and limit overtime. Coming to work to acknowledge his efforts, she gave him a few kisses. Xianwu went into work and saw Jiang Ying telling her that the two were dating. While confiding with his colleagues, Xianwu called him and scolded him, then forced him to make a new plan. Fortunately, another colleague came to help her relieve the situation. Jiang Ying learned from Xianwu that Sangji's company was going to sing karaoke today. That night, Sangji took the opportunity to say hello to everyone and leave early. She passed by but was pulled back. Jiang Ying said that Jia Su's father was in the hospital and spent a lot of money advising her to leave him. Seeing that she couldn't convince her to add that his father was a murderer, she didn't pay attention. Then in the end, when he said that Jia Su didn't love her, all he did was just talk. After all, she plays the victim claiming to be a victim of Jia Su and his family. It's okay to touch her, but when it comes to his family, the soldier will directly stand up to protect him and curse Kwangvu back. After leaving, I slowly drank beer and felt very sorry for Jia Su. Jia Su also came out to pick her up. She gave him her bank card, saying she would take care of him for the rest of her life. Jia Su also gave her his bank card and told her that no matter how she spent it, it would never be as fast as the speed at which he made money. Sangji wants to buy a house himself. He also promises to try to buy a unique house with her. He saw that she had something to say but was afraid of saying it would upset him, so she kept it to herself. The next day she worked hard again and he sent her food and drink. When she got off work, Jia Su came to pick her up and invited her to come home and live together. Before she could answer, her mother called and had to video check. After a few more steps, my brother called out to me asking who I was with. I turned around and saw him running towards me. Having seen it with her own eyes, she still intended to deceive him again. But how could she? Sang Yan's anger was about to explode. Jia Su also admitted. Sang Yan walked without saying anything with the two of them to take Sangji back to the dormitory. When she got there, she felt there was a point where she didn't want to get involved in men's matters and let men handle them. Just a little further away, Sang Yan took a right, then kicked Jia Su. He did not resist but waited for Sang Yan to slowly calm down. He shared that I really like his sister, even though it's bitter, I still have to accept it. When they got back in the car, the two of them confided again. Sang Yan felt that he didn't trust Jia Su very much and even beat him. When he got home and opened Jia Su's refrigerator, it was full of food that his older brother bought for his younger sister. The gun's lips caught my eye and saw a photo of two people. Sangji called worriedly and Jia Su said it was okay. The next day, when he arranged to meet Sangji, when he saw his wound Jungle cried to break off the relationship. Jia Su was happy to see this scene because she stood up to protect him. At night, the three of them went out to play. When they returned, Sangji also told his second brother to sit with Jia Su to strengthen their comradeship. After returning home, Jia Su wanted to work overtime, but he refused to come with him. So one person is lying and the other is running out of deadlines. Jia Su shared that because she wanted to rent a two-bedroom house near Sangji's school, she had to show up to work. In the morning, when everyone at the company had finished arriving, he woke up and was drinking water. Meeting Jiang Ying, he expressed frustration. At Sangji company, everyone is having a meeting with their boss. Xianwu had an idea that was too dry, so Sangji volunteered to voice his idea. The boss really liked her idea, but he just released the number so there are no details yet. Arrange for more time so she can develop that idea. After the meeting, Xianwu blamed Sangji for being someone who had no manners and was someone who stole other people's boyfriends. When I got home that night, I saw Sang Yin transfer money to me. When I called him, he just told me to ask about him and then hung up. At the next meeting, Sangji's idea was both creative and practical, so it was chosen by the partner. After satisfying the big customer, the boss praised her. The whole room congratulated the manager and invited everyone to eat together, but she asked to leave because her husband was waiting. Jia Su came to pick her up and took her to see the two-room house near the school that he had just rented. He gave the house key and said this would be the house for two people. In the evening, while running a deadline for the company, the air conditioner broke down so she had to call him for help because no one came to milk that night. He came to pick her up and brought a bunch of food and things for her. After showering, he waited outside since the afternoon, then only played the newly released game with her. After getting ready to sleep, her hair accidentally stuck to his shirt button, struggling to remove it. Our eyes met, and immediately after that we both gave each other a passionate kiss. After sharing a passionate kiss, she shyly bowed her head and ran straight into the room. In the morning, Sangji is preparing breakfast for Jia Su, and she is also planning an upcoming outing. In the following days, Jia Su always ordered food for each other. Both of them ate and took pictures to send to each other eating online. On the Jia Su company side, they happily held up soft drink bottles because the game had a large number of players. Sangji here came to see Huan Vu. She sent her a gift because she always helped her. At the same time, he added that he wouldn't steal anyone's boyfriend and if he was close, he should take Jiang Ying for a neurological examination. Hearing that, Huan Vu could only stay silent and chuckle. That night, Jia Su discussed this trip, but Sangji shook his head. Sangji thought he would use it for stimulation, but Sangji was very afraid of ghosts. Jiasu continued talking about the hotel, which many people rated as if she was tired. She could go there to think. Sangji said if you think it's a waste there, actually, she just wanted to run around in the forest. Sangji said going out was a waste. Sangji didn't want to go because he was afraid Jiasu would have to waste money. He looked at the girl who understood this, sitting attentively listening to every word Sangji said. After Sangji's good ideas, he agreed that they would both go camping and run together. The next morning, I fully dressed, but today it was pouring rain. So as people of the Vochi kingdom, the two of them built a tent together and ran in their own home. At this time, Sangji's mother called, so Jiasu had to hide out of sight of the phone. While filming for her mother, she accidentally tripped and fell on Jiasu. Thanks to Sangji's lion love name, the two were not discovered. At night, the two players drew the cake and Sangji was the loser. As punishment, Jiasu had to eat the cake on her face. The two played a very casual game but had a lot of fun. The next morning, Sangji was picked up by his brother and brought home after a few days off. His parents were at home taking photos of each other, when Sangji suddenly appeared and took a photo with his mother. Just entering Sangji's room to call Jiasu, suddenly her mother opened the door and heard their conversation. She was very worried but her mother didn't know who that person was. She texted back to tell Jiasu and he also said he would catch a flight to visit her. Sangji took out the box that kept the memories. Mom went down to tell Dad that Sangji was dating, so they went up to interrogate him together. Because there were too many problems about that guy, Sangji quickly left. Entering his brother's room while he was playing games, Sangji fed him food and massaged him when he realized something was wrong. Then Sang Yen asked and found out that the girl wanted to go to dinner with him because Jiasu was there. He gave her 3 minutes to get dressed, and the two of them set off to the party. Sang Yen constantly criticizes Sangji for daring to eat with strangers because he is handsome, but Sangji insisted that wherever Jiasu was, there must be her. Finally, the three of them arrived at their friend's party. They were extremely surprised. Jiasu also introduced this as his girlfriend. My friends and I were disappointed because we had been in love for 3 months, but he hid it so well that we didn't know anything. Seeing Sang Yen flirting with Sangji when he saw him drinking, Jiasu snatched his girlfriend's phone. That night, when both Jia returned, Jiasu told Sangji not to drink too much alcohol. Then she worried about whether he was allergic to alcohol, thinking that if she wanted to know, she would let him taste it. He said that if he hadn't met her, he would miss planning a passionate kiss, but Sangji shyly ran away. As soon as she got home, her mother also knew that Sangji's lover was Jiasu. Her mother did not agree because her family did not want to join the family, and Jiasu was much older than her. Even though she insisted that she loved Jiasu very much, she did not care and left angrily. Sangji was very sad the next day, sitting and relaxing, when Sangji appeared and hugged her cheek from behind. The two talked together and Jiasu wanted to go to see her parents. Sangji nodded in agreement. So Jiasu elegantly brought the gift to meet her uncle, and as soon as he entered, the two went straight to the point. He asked about the two of them dating, admitting that Jiasu was very nice but their families were completely different. The uncle apologized if he said things that hurt him. Jiasu did not blame him but thought that every parent loves their child. At night Jiasu thought back to what her uncle said and felt very hopeless. Over here, Sangji was very worried about Jiasu so he called him. She felt sad and said sorry to him. Don't mind what her parents said. Jiasu felt very confused but said she was fine and thought that the two doctors were very worried about her so they said that. Jiasu did not blame the two of them. She cried and said, "Really, you are very good to me, what I bring is all pain and loss." The two spoke with tears in their eyes. Morning came, Sangji picked up his suitcase and left. Her parents apologized to her for yesterday, but she said she was grown up and knew what was right to do now. Arriving at the airport, Jiasu also came here to meet her. Sangji remembers when he was in 11th grade that he said he had an online lover but actually didn't have a lover at all. As for flying to Hunan just to meet him because he heard that he had a girlfriend. Immediately after that she gave 2 letters that she had written since childhood. The broken-eyed Jam sincerely said that she wanted to be with him forever and that she really liked him. She shows Jiasu these stars so he can be more confident about himself. He wiped his eyelashes, hugged Sangji in his arms, and then learned that she came to this city just for him. He felt so bad that he decided to return to Nanjing and wait for her to return. Even then she smiled again. In the middle of the night, Jiasu sat alone, remembering the time Sangji cried at the airport, not thinking that person was him. Sangji drank water and came out to see him and now it was her time to comfort his poor lover. The next day, Sangji also returned to the dormitory. At the company, the boss was happy when he received a gift from his husband. While having fun, Jiasu gave him the bad news that he would quit his job. Even though they regret being as talented as him, they still plan a way for him to develop and support him in the future. Then he went to the hospital to tell his father his last words. It's been many years since he paid off all his debt. Perhaps he no longer hates him like before. If he hadn't been foolish, perhaps the family would have been reunited. He reminded about his deceased mother. He always wanted her to wake up to see the painful life that he and his mother had to endure. But now his life is okay. He has a career and someone he wants to protect. Having said this, his father seemed to have regained consciousness and left immediately. Jiasu last took that copy. When he left the hospital, he tried to pretend that he was fine, but deep inside his tears was a wide ocean. Now that Jia Su's group no longer has any relatives, he and Sang-ji go together to visit his mother's grave. Then he informed his mother that his father had passed away and that he would return to Nanjing to start a business, but he promised to return here every year to visit her. Sang-ji also promised his grandmother that he would take good care of him. The two went cycling together. Looking at her back, he remembered the girl who used to sit in the back of his car, but he liked the feeling more in the present. He just said that he's thinking about work and returning to Nanjing. There's only 1 month left before the two of them will be apart. Even though it didn't bloom, it didn't stop him. When she got home, she helped him make food, but Jia Su had to go all the way to help him endure it. The next day at the airport, she stuck to him like glue and refused to let go. He promised to come here often to visit her. She also told him not to worry, that if he failed, she would become a rich woman to raise him. The two said goodbye. She did not bloom but walked behind him. Thinking back to the time before leaving, she had established rules for their love. Like calling every day, anniversaries must be celebrated together. Sang-ji and Uxin from dormitory are also submitting applications to participate in the design competition. On Jia Su's side, he is looking for an office for his company. Sang-ji and Uxin successfully submitted their papers. That night, Jia Su gathered his brothers to drink. His study abroad friends also flew back to start a business with Jia Su. Jia Su told Sang Yan that he would come and meet the two of them again soon. Sang-ji called to tease him and tell the people there that she was gay. In the morning, Jia Su went to Sang Yan's house again. Sang Yan also went home to help his friend. During the meal, all four people ate without saying a word. The atmosphere was very tense, so he asked to go to the bathroom to relieve his emotions. Afterwards, everyone drank tea and discussed. Jia Su affirmed that he was sincere with Sang-ji, and that Jiang Ying's family matter had been resolved. Jia Su recounts the times Sang-ji saved money for himself and the times he was sick with her by his side. When he returned, Jia Su also thanked Sang Yan for everything. Back home, Jia Su called Sang Yan in an excited mood. She also said that she had won a design award and wanted to invite him to come see it at the end of the month. On the day of the award ceremony, Jia Su texted a question, but she did not reply. Sadly, he came from behind, surprising her. She found this Jia Su very elegant. He said his whole hand was a bit tight, and when his muscles helped him, he rushed over and kissed her. Before she could say anything, he kicked her and said that when she wants to kiss, just tell him. Choosing to disagree, Sang-ji could only laugh. The award ceremony began. Jia Su was invited to be the award presenter. Seeing that Sang-ji had difficulty filming him, he moved up and asked the reporter to move over a bit so his girlfriend could film his beauty. He released the award-winning video. In it were the promises of Uncle Fox and the little girl. Both looked at each other with tears in their eyes. Announcing the winner as Sang-ji and taking photos together. Not long after that, everyone graduated. Jia Su was the one who filmed the commemorative video. Everyone created a heart spread full of roses to take commemorative photos together. When the preparations were finished, Ning Wei ran out leaving Sang-ji inside. Jia Su came over holding a bouquet of flowers. Sang-ji's family also came here to witness. He thanked Sang-ji for loving and being loved again so happily. That day at home, Sang-ji went up to his room and saw the image of Jia Su, and then the two gave each other a deep kiss. Okay, this is the end of the movie. Please take 3 seconds to subscribe to the channel to support us. Thank you for watching our channel. See you in the next movie.